So you have just seen the information on the donations that you can make to support our local game dev communities and our armed forces of Ukraine. And we are finally ready to start our next presentation. Our next talk will be done by Mariya Kapinos. She's a game designer at WhaleApp, and she will be talking about how Ukrainian gaming industry survives. So we are ready to say hi to Mariya. Hi, can you hear us?
Hi there, I'm happy to be here.
Welcome. Yeah, we're happy to have you here too.
Yeah. So actually, I wanted to talk about my experience of what it's like to actually work, to produce things while you're in the state literally of war, And it's a strange feeling because when I say it, even now, I still can believe it. I still can believe that in one world you can have a laptop and you can work on that laptop from the bomb shelter, So this is like two worlds that do not match. But I guess to understand how it all ended up like this and what I feel about that, I would love to start from the very beginning of like how it all started for me. So I would love to share some slides with you, and I hope that it will just give you more perspective on who I am and how I see the world. So sorry, just a second. Basically, my story begins around 3 years ago. And around 3 years ago, I started working in the company that I continue working for, WhaleApp. And I would love to talk about people. Like, it's about Ukrainian people working in the industry. Right now, it's not about games we produce. It's not about projects, It's about Ukrainians integrated in those teams. So let's start with me on the day of the interview, when I actually interviewed for WhaleApp, and rumor has it I got the job, and this photo actually was taken in Las Vegas. I was on my way there, and many people asked me how did it feel to come back to Ukraine. And I would always answer that it's just not about where you are. It's about the environment, the team. It's about the people surrounding you. And you know what? I cannot find the right words to explain how cool it was to be a game designer in Kiev and to be surrounded with all these amazing people, So what was my company like? Like, amazing, we had all the parties, we had all the crazy funny things, and I felt like any person anywhere in the world, no difference at all. And I appreciated small things that like might surprise you, but I liked like having candies in the morning, like I would just grab them. Or like I liked other game designers complaining about someone eating their food, and then before I actually start talking about war, I would love to show you one photo. This photo was taken a couple of days in February prior to the war. As you see, people are celebrating, people are like happy, people have no idea what's going to happen to them. And literally, I was one of that people. I did not believe that. And when I went abroad, people would keep asking me, how could you not know? How could you just not go early? Because, my mother, she's in Kiev. My whole family is in Kiev. Everyone is there. So how could I not know? But the truth is, even when I left, I could not fully understand that it's happening. And I'm actually surprised that other people around me were so motivated to help, because like, for example, our company helped with relocation. Our company helped like people to find a good place, to be safe, also they helped in many ways. And I understand that this is like the support. I probably would be, my life would be much more complicated if not for that support, for sure. And it's not like a nice words, it's literally how I feel. and that's like what I'm grateful for. So we were living in the state of like expectation that something bad is going to happen for like a long time, because in 2014 Russia occupied Crimea, and I remember that time. I remember how strange it was to see that like someone invades your land, you know. So we kind of were prepared, but in the same time, how can you be prepared to things that happened within this like last 2 months? Yeah, I guess you can't. So I'll continue sharing right now, so if you don't mind. So I left Ukraine. I was one of the first ones to leave, and I actually managed to skip big lines, because people after me that left, they usually would go to Poland. They would like wait for 20 hours, 30 hours. And I've asked my colleagues to send me some photos. I was actually, my intent was not to show any photos that are like, I don't know who's the author, you know, just the photos that I know of. And I'm not going to show you anything terrible, because you can see it on the news and you will know it. I just want to tell you personal stories. Like this photo is from the bomb shelter, taken by one of my colleagues. And this is the first day. People that had good jobs, like stable life, they just live this way. And I remember seeing these photos for the first time. I reacted to it not the way I react right now. I have to say that terrible thing happened. I got used to many like, well, I've seen worse, let's put it this way. These photos are actually very heartwarming and charming in the same time, because this is also my colleague, like so is these people, and they are hiding in the bomb shelter. And Ira, this charming 2D artist, she said that her parrot was so cold that she had to just warm him up all the time. And you know, obviously parrots are not supposed to be underground, you know, when there's like a shelling above our heads, right? So yeah, strange feeling. And I would love to end with slides and just continue telling you my story. That's what I guess matters. So our country is bilingual. It was always like that. And I could speak both Ukrainian and Russian, and that would never be a problem. And when it all happened, strange things have started to happen at first. For example, I remember the guy saying, you know, there is like, I'm in a bomb shelter, but I can continue working. I'll finish the task. And I'm like, what? Seriously? Are you joking? But he wasn't. Some of the HRs told me stories like about people just interrupting conversations just to go and just in the military. But as strange as it is, life does not stop when the war begins. And I've learned it the hard way, but I did learn it. And our company started evacuating people. Some people actually never interrupted their work, and they continued working, continued producing games. And a couple of days later, I was surprised to find out that people do make games and come up with new ideas. And for example, I recently had to like work on some outfits for the game, or like pop-up windows, you know. And you have these two worlds collide. The world where people are suffering without food, some of our colleagues also actually went through that terrible experience. And in the same time, you make games. I have to say, for me, it was like a salvation, because if it wasn't for the work, I think it would be much harder for me. So I'm actually glad that I have this cool distraction, I guess. And one of our colleagues, he said, let's talk in more doing. And I always felt like, and I swear this is true, I would never work in the environment I don't like and don't respect. And over these 3 years, I volunteered. We went to the dog shelters and we did so much. And the company continues doing that, but sometimes I still wonder, like, what happened to the dogs, what happened to all the animals, what happened to all the charming kittens, like, we helped. Although, of course, there's like even bigger, more terrible things happening, right? And you have to see that and you have to go through that. I will tell you a story about how I tried coping with the situation, but it didn't work out for me. The stupid thing I could do, I decided that I need to go somewhere where I could try not to go crazy. And the idea was to go to India. Well, I did, and suddenly I realized in that country that it was so far away that it was like nothing happens. And I was like overfilled with guilt by that time. So being in the world where it feels like nothing happens, it only like increased that. And I came back to Poland, and at the airport, I have met a family. I met a father and his 15 years old daughter. And that was the first time I've actually realized that world it can be different and situation can be much worse. And because they spent night at the home shelter for like a Polish people, actually extremely charming. They are so like helping, and I can't find the right words to describe how helpful they are. But still, for them, it was hard. They've never been abroad, and they were lost and depressed and sad. And this is the experience I would never forget, because I actually helped that girl. We went to the hotel, and both her father stayed in another room, and she and me, we stayed like in one room, separate beds, and she would be crying all night. And that was a very, very, very hard night for me, because next day I was like all shaking, I couldn't believe that it happens. And at that point, I realized that actually things can be even worse, and probably it made me cherish what I have. So right now, I'm just gonna get into details of what game dev looks like. And I would love to start with one simple phrase. When you see some games about Miami or about Hollywood, in around, I don't know, 60 approximately % of cases, people that make those games, they are actually not from USA. Probably you know that, right? And people that do that, they are like, in most cases, people like me, like Ukrainians, including Ukrainians, right? With the same lifestyle, thinking, with the same no language barriers, etc., etc. And it's a very globalized society, and I believe that no matter what, as surprising as it is, war movies are lying to us, because they are all about what happens when the war starts, right? But actually, it's all about small things. What happened, what helped me to go through this is I've started concentrating on the small things. I've started eating healthier. I forced myself to go on a walk every day. I obviously call all my friends, my mother, my uncle. He's actually a doctor, so he's like sleeping he's spending days and nights in the hospital. I'm just trying to help, and I'm so grateful that people around me do the same. Like they help Ukrainian army. Again, WhaleApp helps Ukrainian army, and many people that are, they actually went to the military. I've told you that, and people probably haven't expected to do that. But in the same time, somehow everything works. People continue doing the tasks, and I actually don't know how it happened, because probably I was under the impression of American movies or like European movies, that even the hardest thing, my point is, even the hardest things, you try somehow to get through that in any way you can. I had actually some very bad things happen, including in my family, that I didn't want to get into. But I'm very proud that I managed to go through that, and I hope that people that have experienced the same bad things, they can do the same thing. Yeah, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks a lot. It's been a really heartwarming talk, and thanks for sharing it all with us. I think many of us understand what's it like for now. And yes, we do have some questions. First one is James writes to you. I have worked with refugees, and one of the often neglected aspects of refugee support is emotional crisis counseling. You should expect from 30 to 40% of evacuees to need counseling help to deal with the terror, grief, PTSD, and anxiety caused by their situations. Would free online private crisis counseling be accepted by people you know?
So I can talk about, again, only my experience. So when a bad situation happened for me, I actually didn't know what to do. And the first thing I did, I wrote to my HR asking, what can I do? And then I did a very embarrassing thing, which is I erased that message, thinking I don't need any help. But again, she saw that message. She wrote me saying that we have counselors. You just can go to them and talk to them. We have some people helping us. So I said, okay, I'll think about that. And I've actually just talked to some people that I really trust, and they helped me to go through that. But that was the first time I realized that it's hard to share these terrible experiences. And this is so bad, because I think if I experienced that feeling, maybe some other people, many people do the same thing, right? And this is so terrible because, coming to think of that, I am healthy, I'm in a safe place right now. Why would I be sometimes so depressed? And what triggers that depression is small things. You see the photo, you see the streets that you know so well. You go, you walk that streets, and it just breaks your heart. You walk the streets, and now you see the photos and it's just so. I can say that most companies that in game dev, they do have support, and it makes sense to write to them. And another thing is that I know, for example, in Poland, there's many groups helping Ukrainians. You just type them, Facebook and anything, and you find that support. And another thing I'll tell you what helps is actually the story that happened half an hour ago. Right before this talk, someone knocked on the door. Woman around 60 or something. So she brought me this, and this is like a traditional Ukrainian bread for Christmas, for Easter, because like Ukrainians celebrate Easter soon. And she did it, like she brought it especially for me. And I was like, oh my God, I have a conference. I'm not supposed to cry. But, you know, and I have like a goosebump because I don't know how to explain how charming that is. I don't know how to explain how grateful I am to. And you know what is interesting? I am the most grateful, like, for example, like when I talk to some people that I knew a long time ago, you know, at work, now it feels different when you talk to them, because when someone calls you and asks you how you're doing, you're like, thank you for asking, because it matters for some reason so much, right? And I think that we should just do it more as Ukrainians, like right now. Yeah. Can't hear you for actually, can't hear you.
Oops, I always forget that. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are now saying that like just asking how are you doing is like the most important thing that you want to hear from a person for now, and it really means a lot to all of us today.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, I totally agree with everything that you said. And well, we also have one question from Yevhen. He asks, how do you deal with the guilt of missing work or doing not enough for work, especially working for foreign studios?
Oh, that is a very good question, because when I came to Poland, those first days, I felt like I'm doing fine, but I'm sorry for these details, but like I've been vomiting for 2 days. I'm like, I'm fine, I'll be back. And I know my body just like can't cope with that. And it was like a surprise even to me. I think this way I was lying to myself, thinking or saying I'm doing good. That is a lie. And then I keep saying that I'm doing good even right now. But the truth, I just learned to like, well, basically I lost my home, you know, like my stability. So I am in a foreign country, and I'm not really sure what my future will look like. And it's like hard. But the guilt is what I've decided. And even in my speech, as I was preparing, I've actually answered that question with one simple sentence. So I do what I can. I won't send money. And also, I know that I can talk, I can tell more. And I've been doing some videos. And actually, the reason that I wanted, the reason, the topic I picked for this conference is that mainly the reason is I want to just tell what the situation is through the personal stories, because it always matters the most. You know, I have a journalism background, and I was told one interesting thing, which is like, we cannot really understand what it's like when a tank like crosses your street or bumps into your home, because like it's just something you never experienced. But when a soldier kills your beloved grandmother, that you can feel and experience, right? And that is what, how you apply to, how you reach foreign media, and that's how you explain actually the situation to foreign countries. Because the truth is, it's hard right now to work with, for some people, with Ukrainians or Russians, because they worry about Russians for one reason, for the Ukrainians because what if Ukraine is invaded? You know, what if Ukrainians like can't work? What if Ukrainians like just go missing or something? But what I've realized right now, based on experience from my company, is like people actually are very good at maintaining work because it matters to them, you know. So they just those that work, they do work. And I had like some time I was not working, but since I've started, I actually like kind of dig deeper into that, and now like I'm fully busy, you know, and it's even feels a little bit better, I guess, to do that than to and to think. which is how, I know it sounds strange. You escape to work, not to think. It might be maybe like a strange, but that is the truth. You do think that you know, and you don't think about like your future sometimes, certain aspects of it, your relatives, your friends, and a very maybe not very common advice, but when you work, you do your part of the job. You're also helping, because Ukrainian economy needs people that work, and IT industry is actually one of that key points. So thinking that if you're working, you're doing something bad, no, it's the opposite. Do what you can. Yeah, so that's my idea.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, totally agreed with that. I usually sometimes I usually also like try to make myself as busy as possible just to get distracted from everything that's going on around me and in my country in general. So yeah, that's actually a helpful advice, but you should like be aware that you might just burn out at some point. So you should find
Yeah.
some balance in this. And one other question is how can you fully concentrate on working and not being totally distracted, or is it absolutely impossible? The war has been distracting my mind even if I am not living in Ukraine.
Mm, well, I think that two things. First of all, like I'm been monitoring my personal like health, since I started working, and I realized that things that I liked doing before, I actually like doing right now, no matter what, you know. And as surprising as it is, I've always been worried that I will fail someone, for example, at my work, right? Because yeah, you like people, you actually respect people, you want them to be satisfied with their job. But when I could not work, they actually understood. So and supported actually, and just called, talked, just casually mentioned like how you doing or something. So I guess everyone decides for himself. Mm.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think what I would say is that I think that it shouldn't be an excuse, like not to work. I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to be more concentrated on like a thing that I can do here and now, because I was not in the best state like of mind before, and I realized that when you start feeling sorry for yourself, you you just sink deeper and deeper and deeper into that terrible state, and then instead of being productive, you're just being lazy. And right now it's time to actually do more, not less. And like for example, I am Ukrainian, and I speak both Russian and Ukrainian. And at some point, I was like writing Russian, speaking Ukrainian, and it was a strange thing because I'm used to that. And some of my American friends, they would say, for example, "So how are you doing?" Like, and they are surprised to see that since the war started and now it's like I'm a totally different person, because when it all happened, I was like, "Oh my God, so I lost what to do, what to do, what to do." But then something like that happens, you're like, "Well, I'm doing fine." Um, the only thing that like put me off, like a little bit like of my of the grid, I guess, is when I see something very bad happening, I'm like I can't concentrate, and I give myself like a right. For example, like last week, I've been staying up all night because there were like this terrible clashes in Ukraine. Like it aggravated, got more aggressive. And I wrote to my lecture project manager saying, I cannot work in the morning. I just can't. But I will finish the job later. And I did that. And I feel like this way I'm more productive because like I actually can get through this processes. And I suggest doing that to other people. And also I think that maybe like it will be a stupid thing to say. I mean, stupid thing from the perspective of like a materialistic world. But um, I don't want to fail people that I work with, and I can explain why in detail. I always try to volunteer with people, and like for example, head of our studio, she would like help the kindergartens, older people, younger people, like dogs, etc., etc. And I remember like the company owner actually coming up to me saying, "How are you doing? Like, how do you like the job?" And all the small things, you know. I feel like it's so hard for them in this period. It's like meaning hard, like they are worrying about us. So I just don't want to, if I can, I just don't want to fail them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a nice motivation in such circumstances. Yeah. Okay. Well, we actually have one more question, but we are out of time. So, if you want to ask it, I think you can just contact Maria and ask it yourself. So, thanks again for an awesome talk. It was really inspiring, and I hope some of these pieces of advice that you gave will be actually helpful for the people who are coping with this. So, well, stay safe, and we hope for the best for Ukraine.
Thank you for inviting me, and have a nice as possible day.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Bye bye.